Football. I'm Jordan. This is Dave, here to give you your fantasy football updates and our opinions on what you could possibly do for the week. First off, I want to thank. We've had a lot of support kind of coming through. Only our second week through on our TikTok page, JD Fantasy Football. You can find us on there. Really appreciate all the people who have been jumping on that and everyone who's been jumping onto the live when we've been going live. So first thing I do want to address is we did have our first question on TikTok in a comment about playing Trey McBride this week instead of playing who to play, Trey McBride or play Parkinson. The way I answered it and the way I feel, if Trey McBride is still going, I would say play Trey McBride. We'll go over that through the injury report. I think Trey McBride is always a potential top 5 pick as a tight end, and he's been a top 5 pick as a tight end since he's been every week that he's been playing. I think Parkinson, that's a rough Rams team. I mean, they are just battered. Could he get it? Absolutely. Could he not? Absolutely not. So I'd say play Trey McBride. It's a safe pick. But other than that, Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just happy to see Caleb out there listening.
Caleb?
Lot to talk about tonight, Caleb. So I hope you're excited. It was a tragedy. We're not talking about last week at all. We're not bringing it up. We're not going to talk about the disasters that took place, and we're not talking about what happened to Skip. We're not going to do it. We're gonna forget that last week happened. We're gonna move on.
Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know our league, me and Dave did lose last week. I lost in pretty ridiculous fashion. Dave actually made it more of a competitive team. I think I barely broke the 100 points. I think I got like 100, maybe 98. So, yeah, and we could talk more about. Should we just take the time to talk about that? Skip,
no, I said we're
Caleb?
not talking about it. We're not gonna deal with it.
I don't think you can't not talk about it though. I think we have to talk about that. And I'm sorry, Caleb. Are you a Red Sox fan? Is that what's going on here? Caleb, a Red Sox fan? Do you know?
I don't know what Caleb's baseball team is. I know he's a Colts fan. So does that make him a?
What's an Indiana team? Is there an Indiana team? Do they even have a team? No. Skip, you mad, bro? Yeah, I mean, you get a touchdown from Tony Pollard with 24 seconds left in this game when they're up by 12, when they have no right to be there. Oh, Braves fan. Got it.
That's right. He's a Braves fan. I forget. He wears a Braves hat all the time. I should have known that.
Yeah.
My bad, Caleb.
You just joined the clan. What? You're a Braves fan, aren't you, Dave?
Yeah.
Cam's a Braves fan.
It was my first Little League team. So
Yankees. Funny story about the Yankees. Just quick before we get into here. I'm not gonna lie. When I was like 8, the Utah Jazz lost terribly to Michael Jordan, and it was when Karl Malone got the ball stolen, and that whole thing made me cry. So I dedicated my next team to a team that was winning. And I've been a Yankees fan ever since.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
The Jazz literally pulled me to the Yankees for a team as a team. Wow. And I've supported them ever since. So
that's pretty smart.
It is kind of a bandwagon, but I mean, at the same time, I haven't switched from them even when they've had bad years. So.
I mean, you were 8, so we got to cut you some slack on that too.
Yeah. A little bit, give me a tiny bit. I will admit that it was because they were winning at the time, but I was 8. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. But okay, let's get right into this. So we're going to go into this injury report that we have here. Some big ones. So Trey McBride, as I was mentioning earlier in the cast, he did show up today, not because of the concussion that he just cleared, but because of a rib injury. So something to keep your eye on in the morning, something I got to keep my eye on in the morning. If there is no update, me personally, I picked up Mike Gesicki, even though he only got 1 catch for -9 yards last week. I probably will still play him if I'm not 100% sure if Trey McBride is a go. A rib injury just kind of popping up out of nowhere is kind of scary to play. And especially if he's an afternoon game, it could be all the way up to game time decision, which I'm not willing to take that risk. Malik Neighbors, big one, out for the week. After that brutal, I mean, I wouldn't even say hit because it wasn't really a hit. It was more of a face plant on the sideline.
Yeah.
So he's out. I thought for sure he would play. He had 10 days to kind of get through that concussion protocol, and he did not clear it by this episode. So Malik Neighbors is also an out. There is an update, everyone, on Christian McCaffrey. That update is he will not be active on Thursday. So they're already planning for him not to play next week. So in case you were wondering, he is not planning on playing next week. So Brian Robinson Jr. is questionable with a knee injury. Now, there is no projection of whether he is a go or not. I believe he is just actually, I'm so sorry. They say he is good to go. He is still questionable, but they're saying that he is good to go. I heard that with Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of the year. So obviously he's questionable for a reason. But there's a lot of talk that he is good to go. And Evan Ingram's looking like he's questionable. Looks like he's going to make his first start as far as with it. So actually, I'm sorry. As of today, Evan Ingram is actually expected to not play. So questionable to doubtful. Another guy, Devin Singletary, another one who is doubtful. And that kind of affects you, Dave. I mean, you have Devin Singletary and Evan Ingram, who you're playing against today, both out. So that's got to feel nice.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about this week for a lot of reasons, but that is nice.
Jonathan Taylor is out this week. 100% out. He had a high ankle sprain on the same leg that took him out last year. So he will be out for this week. Anthony Richardson is also doubtful. So he will not be playing. So we'll definitely have more talk about this. But Joe Flacco, baby, let's go. Coming into the game. Taysom Hill is out as well. Joe Mixon for a third straight week out. Questionable every week, and he has been out for 3 weeks. Kind of scary to see. He had such a great start to the year, so it kind of sucks to see him be out for so long.
Yep.
We also have George Kittle is questionable, but I think he's been questionable every week.
Yeah, he's going to try to tough it out.
Yeah, George Kittle is good. I think he's from Iowa. He's a good Iowa boy.
That's right.
He's going to tough that. Typically, he's going to tough those things out.
Tight end university, baby.
Yes, sir. All right, and then some other kind of Cooper Kupp is not expected to play this week. He's on the bye. They're probably going to try to play him after or get him going after the bye. Romeo Doubs suspended for this game.
That's a big one.
Crazy. It's crazy.
That's a handful of targets that are going to get spread around. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so you can just mix suspended Romeo Doubs and a IR Christian Watson. So
yep.
A lot of receiver hurting over there at Green Bay. Then we still have Rashee Rice. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but Rashee Rice is going to be one of those ones that there is a small glimpse of hope for him to be into this league or play again this year, but it is tiny with Patrick Mahomes as the MVP in tackling for that Kansas City Chiefs team. So,
okay.
And then we have Nick Chubb was spotted on the field. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a Nick Chubb sighting on the field. He is not going to be active this week, still not playing, but it sounds like he is getting really, really close to playing. The other thing I have heard is there is rumors that there's a possibility that if the Cleveland Browns are no good this year, Nick Chubb might be a trade.
Oh.
As a Cowboys fan, please tell me there's a potential for Nick Chubb to be traded.
That's crazy. Okay.
And finally here, another trade prospect that is vocally and obviously known. Davante Adams will not play this week with a hamstring injury. Second week he's out again. But there's heavy talks that this week talks of trade will heat up after they figure out the exact extent of this hamstring injury. I would project that if he is not gone by next week, he will be gone by the week after. So,
Wow.
And that is your injury report for the week.
Wow.
So really a lot of players kind of on there. A lot of big players kind of on there that open up a lot of these, like making the free agency making the free agency a little bit more exciting. The waiver wire is a lot more exciting than it was the first 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, there were a couple pickups, including Dontavian Wicks, that I think will be significant this week. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Absolutely. All right, so we get into the boom or boom and bust segment of this. Dave, who's your boom for this week?
My boom is Xavier Worthy. It's time. It's time. Lots of hype for Xavier. I know a lot of fantasy owners have been looking for him to perform. With Rashee Rice out and Travis Kelce not performing, it's time. I think he is going to just see more and more points as the season goes along. Especially, that's if he can avoid the tackles from Pat Mahomes. That's the only that might be the biggest thing in the way of Xavier Worthy. It's time.
Yeah, just has to make sure that you avoid. If I was a receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, I would not even go near a player or Patrick Mahomes when there's a pick. That's involved.
Patrick's last tackle for the year, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, guy's gritty. Don't get me wrong. He's just trying to tackle, but man, I would not go near him. He is a wild card when trying to tackle somebody. So,
my goodness.
Well, awesome. Well, my boom for this week, we talked about Anthony Richards going down. Joe Flacco is my boom. And I think this guy is going to show Indianapolis fans how a quarterback is supposed to play this game. You use your receivers. Let me repeat that. You use your receivers. Use your talent. Joe Flacco knows how to do that. If there's anything that he's shown us from last year is that the Cleveland Browns, he showed that Deshaun Watson wasn't as good of a quarterback as he used to be. He showed him how to use Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's numbers jumped sky high once he was under center. Just all the receiving and all the Cleveland offense looked functional. It looked how an offense should look. Joe Flacco isn't going to be the guy that you're like, hey, this guy is like the most dazzling Patrick Mahomes type of player. But he is a quarterback. He's a professional quarterback, a veteran, a Super Bowl winning quarterback who knows how to distribute the ball and make an offense run smoothly. So I think Joe Flacco is my boom for this week.
I like it. I like that a lot. 2 years in a row. Joe getting 2 years it done.
When will he become a starter again? Let's make Joe a starter again. I'm going to get a shirt that says Joe making football great again.
There's a case that in our league this week that he will outscore somebody's quarterback.
Maybe multiple.
Yeah. There's a case that someone should pick him up tonight and get them on their roster because he's throwing the ball again.
Yeah, absolutely. And who do you have as a bust?
My bust is Jackson Smith-Njigba. He just has underperformed. He is supposed to be a wide receiver 1, and all year he's just been a wide receiver 2. And I think that Lockett has been just a hair worse than him, and that's not what he's supposed to be. I think Lockett is right there with him. So yeah, he's just absolutely a bust. You got to start him. Wide receivers are getting injured left and right. We're looking into bye weeks, but he's been a tough go this season.
Yeah. I think I have a different opinion on Smith-Njigba. Guys had 16 targets in week 2, 12 targets in week 4. I think he's getting there. I think he is. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to turn it up. I think as DK Metcalf gets more and more covered, Smith-Njigba is going to have a lot more opportunities, and he's getting opportunities. he turns those into tutties, and he could easily be a top 15, top 20 receiver, which is what you would be expecting out of him. I don't think he's going to be a top 10 by any means, but I think he has potential as a top 20 receiver.
Okay. A little difference here.
Yeah. Well, my bust is we talked about Tyreek Hill last week. My bust is going a little bit deeper, and I don't want to seem like a guy who is just bashing on one team. I actually have no squabble against the Miami Dolphins. Absolutely none. Don't hate them. Don't love them. But any Dolphins player is almost not worth starting. You're going to start some people like Devon Achane because you have to. But even he is going to be a scary pick for you. I just don't see a lot of ways where this offense changes unless Tua comes back in the game. Now, good news, Tua did have an injury update where Adam Scheffler did say that he would be, he hasn't had any symptoms of the concussion. The real question is it worth it for them to activate him at this point? By the time he's off of the IR in week 8, they could potentially be 1-7. Is it worth it to kind of start him? So I don't see, until Tua gets here, I don't see a single Dolphins player, especially if Raheem Mostert comes back at some point. I don't see us. I think that eats up a lot of Devon Achane's time as well. I don't see a single player that's worth playing on this team until Tua is absolutely back up and rolling.
I think that's a great take. They do have one player that intrigues me, though, on that Miami Dolphins team, and that is Storm Duck.
Storm Duck.
He's a highly touted cornerback, and he's going to give New England all kinds of problems this week. I'm excited to see Mr. Duck. I can't wait to see the jersey this week. Mr. Duck.
Mr. Duck.
Causing problems.
It's going to be great. I'm not going to lie to you, though. That game is going to be a snooze fest. I personally have NFL Ticket, and I have 2 TVs that we watch it on. Out of all 8 games that I have in the morning, that will not be one that is put onto the game. Okay. That will be one that I will put onto the side. It is going to be worse than that Titans Miami game. It is going to be a boring game, in my opinion.
Okay.
Okay, so boom and bust are done. So, Dave, are you ready for some matchups here? You did pretty well last week.
Let's see. Yeah, I went 4 for 6 last week. Yep. Yeah, partially because I believed in your wife, which you should have believed in your wife.
Yeah, that's on me.
Yeah. And then who else did I get?
I don't know. I think I took Tay on one of those, and you took maybe you took Finkel.
Yeah, I had Daniel winning, and that was really more Taylor fumbling the bag than Finkel. Trying to think. Yeah, but really, truly, the big game of the week was Skip versus Caleb. Holy cow. That
you talk about a nail biter.
That finish. Geez. Running the ball up 12. How many seconds were left?
24.
Oh my goodness.
At the 10-yard line.
And the difference, so Caleb wins by 1.14 points because of that garbage freaking touchdown. That's a brutal loss.
That is so crazy. I can't even tell you. For Caleb, I'm sure you're jumping for glee. And for Skip, you have got to be absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated. But Caleb, congratulations on your win there, buddy. It doesn't matter if you win by 0.14 or if you win by 50, which is what I'm telling myself this week because I lost by 50 last week. So great job, Caleb. Congratulations on that victory last week. Okay, well, let's get into matchups. I think our first matchup we're going to go into, Dave, is your matchup. How you feeling this week about this week?
Well, I made the decision this week. Aaron Rodgers just hasn't been producing. So I went ahead and picked up Kirk Cousins ahead of the Thursday Nighter.
What a pickup that was.
Yeah, that's going pretty well for me. 35 points. He had 509 yards and 4 tutties. That lone interception was it was just awesome. I could never dream of Aaron doing that for me this year. So
yeah, on a night that Matt Ryan is getting inducted into the Ring of Fire or whatever they call it there at the Falcons, Kirk Cousins just breaks his record in front of him of most passing yards.
And Kirk hasn't done this year. Like, he has not looked like this. That receiving core has not looked like this. For some reason, it just all came together against Tampa Bay of all teams.
Well, you can see in the game he's trusting his back foot more, where he's getting more velocity and a little bit more accuracy after coming off that ACL tear. He's planting it a little bit more when he's throwing rather than getting off of it a little bit more gingerly that he has been in the past. I think this is I'm gonna be honest, and this may be a bold take, but I think Kirk Cousins is going to look a lot more and more, mind you, maybe not 509 yards every week, but I think you're going to see a lot more 300 yards, multiple touchdown games. And I think that helps out a lot of those receivers, Kyle Pitts, in that aspect. Because I think he's looking more and more like the Kirk Cousins that we knew. And that was prime time Kirk Cousins right there, baby. That's something that he's not supposed to be able to do on Thursday night. He turns into a pumpkin when the lights start coming out. So,
well, I feel like the clock was ticking on him, right? Like, how long are they going to stick with Cousins when he's performing like that, when they have Penix Jr. on the sideline? Absolutely. Like, I feel like he had to do that, and he absolutely did. The other person on my team that I think it's kind of a big week is Marvin Harrison Jr. He's gotten going a couple games this season, but this is a divisional game against San Francisco. He has to show up this week against a kind of a porous secondary for the 49ers. This Kyler has got to buy some time like he always does and get that ball downfield to Marvin Harrison Jr. This is a big week. I'm up against Kyler, so not necessarily rooting for him in my heart, but I need him to be throwing that ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. instead of Trey McBride, who has a rib injury, right? He's going to be out at half. So
I hope not.
Yeah, I think Marvin's going to have a big week.
Yeah, I love those picks. So for the Bears side, I mean, how do we talk about anyone on his team if you're not talking about Kenneth Walker III? I mean, the guy is he is just a beast. He's a dog, man. That guy is just a tank. Doesn't matter what you try to do to stop him. He is going to roll through you. He makes that offense look so much better, so much more proficient. I mean, against a really, really gritty Lions run defense, he still put up a ton of points last week. He found the end zone 3 separate times. Awesome to see. Kenneth Walker III is going to be he's a beast week in and week out. The other person I want to talk about is Kareem Hunt. Interesting pick. It's an interesting pickup. I think he did show last week that here's the thing. Carson still fumbles early in that game, right? He's the starter. How would it surprise me that Carson still comes back and becomes a starter again on this team this week? And they were just like, the newspaper on the nose, bad doggy. No, you don't get to do that. So we're going to take you out and put Kareem Hunt in. So I don't know what this backfield looks like when it puts Kareem Hunt as kind of an iffy. Could be an amazing pick if they decide Kareem Hunt's that guy, but could be splitting a lot of those touches with Carson still. The other thing is that for my sake, because I picked him up last week and put him on my IR, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire started to practice this week. He's not active today, so this might be a good pickup for this week. But we all know in the past, if Isaiah Pacheco was out, it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire who was the one that was picking up those touches. And I truly believe he knows this offense better than any of the running backs that are in that back room. He could come back, and even though it might be a little bit slower, I think he could come back and become the number one person on there. So Kareem Hunt going for 30. I hope so. I hope so for some of you people that are out there. I personally don't see it. I think he might roll into a touchdown. You'd be lucky if he rolls into a touchdown and gets you the 12.1 points to me this week. So we both have you. I have you winning this week. You have yourself winning this week, I believe.
Yep.
So we both have both of us winning this week. So awesome. Let's move on to the next game, which we have as this one's going to be a fun one. This is actually probably for me the game of the week. I think this is going to be a phenomenal game. This is my lovely wife, Lex, against Josh, who is undefeated. Lex is an interesting thing because she has not had Christian McCaffrey all year, and she is 3-1. She's literally tied with me for second place in this league without her number one draft pick. So she has just been grinding wins out this week. But I'll let you talk about her team if you'd like to go.
Yeah, this is Dak Prescott's week to shine. I think this is a big game on the road against a Pittsburgh defense that has been up and down. Last week it was down. So I think Dak's just going to shred it. He's projected 18 points this week, 19 points.
17.7.
Yeah, 17-7. I think he's going to beat that. I think he's going to do just great. And those terrible towels, they're just going to put them back in their pockets. I think that's going to get you a lot of points, Alexis, is Dak on the road winning on Sunday night. So, yeah,
As
you
a
guys
Cowboys fan, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Anyone else you want to talk about on this squad?
Not really. I just hope Parkinson eats it. I don't need him doing anything against my Packers. Zay Flowers has been a consistent red zone target. She's got both Seattle guys going up against each other. I already talked crap on Smith and Jigba, but she's hurt. I mean, she's got Malik Neighbors out and Njoku is questionable. So that's I think it's a tough week for her, but this is the week to get Josh Foote. This is the week to get real frozen tundra. He's got a bunch of people on the bench that you'll talk about, but come on, Alexis, we need you to get this done.
Let's go Josh Jacobs. I think we all agree with that. Their new acquired running back on this team. So
Alabama guy.
Yes, sir. Alabama and Green Bay. That's a double whammy for you, ain't it?
Yeah.
I have Josh. I am taking, just as it's perfectly clear, I am taking my wife this week. I doubted her last week, and I'm not going to do that again. She came through last week, so I am going to take Lex this week. But I have Josh that I'm going to talk about here. The two players that are interesting to me that I think are deal breakers here is DeAndre Swift in this game. I think, who is real DeAndre Swift, right? Is it last week or is it the 3 weeks before? We don't know. I mean, he went off last week and that's great, but this Carolina team is not the Carolina team we had with Bryce Young. This could be a shootout of a game. These guys could get blown out of this game, possibly, right? Like, I think DeAndre Swift is a great player and he has that potential and he has that talent. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it this week. I surely hope so for his sake, but yeah, I think DeAndre Swift is not a 16 point. I wouldn't say it's a positive 16.1 projection. That's not confident 16.1 for me. The other thing that's going to be really iffy, and this is kind of the reason I'm taking Lex, is Dalton Schultz. He's starting Dalton Schultz. He had just so that we can be clear on a lot of things, and this is why he's kind of prime for the taking this week. He has Dallas Goedert on the bye, and he has Jahmyr Gibbs on the bye. So he has some big players that are buying here. And Dalton Schultz is who he came up with as who he wanted to play this year. But Dalton Schultz this year, 5 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets, 4 points, 4 points, 3 points, 6 points. Not a guy who's very consistent. Hard Buffalo defense that they're playing too. Surprisingly hard, although they got torn up last week. I think Dalton Schultz, now that Stephon Diggs is there, Tank Dell is back to being healthy, Nico Collins is there. There's so much talent in the receiving core that Dalton Schultz is one of those people that kind of get a little bit forgotten on that offense. So I think that's a player. Josh really needs the Bears to dominate, and Josh really needs the Texans to dominate. He's got Stephon Diggs and Dalton Schultz and DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift. Two scary teams right now to hope to dominate. But yeah, I'm still taking Lex. So for those reasons, I'm taking Lex as my top pick or as my pick for the win here.
I like that. And Stevenson will fumble a couple times, right?
Oh yeah, I mean Stevenson's at risk to probably lose a starting position within the next 2 weeks if he can fumble. He's fumbled statistically. He's fumbled once per week.
Wow.
Since the beginning of this year, he has more fumbles than he has touchdowns right now.
And that offense can't really afford that.
No, and until they get Drake May in there, I don't know how good that team. I mean, even with Drake May, I don't know if that team looks great, but at least get your young player playing and chancing to get it down the field. Okay, so that is Lex and Josh. Let's move on to the next one, which would be we are going with Cam, right? So Cam versus Finkel Einhorn.
Yeah.
And you're taking Finkel Einhorn on this one.
No, I'm taking Cam.
Not winning. I'm sorry, not winning. You're taking his team. I think we both have Cam winning this week, right?
Yeah, Daniel has yet he is yet to get Joe Mixon out of his lineup, who is out. So he just starts himself in the negative. He's got Narvison for Green Bay, who consistently misses kicks. Hate him so much. And Deontay Johnson is the most interesting character on his team. And I think, Jordan, we were talking earlier, Deontay Johnson, if things keep going the way we expect them to go in Carolina, he will be a trade deadline target.
I think he will be a very good trade deadline target for a lot of teams. And reason being is he's cheap. He's on a 1 year, like $7 million contract. He's a prove it year. So it's not even like a full commitment that a team has to make to him. So I think you're going to see some teams that are really desperate in that receiver core or receiver category that are going for championships, try to make a trade for him. And I think Carolina wouldn't be opposed to it because you're essentially your number one quarterback, your number one pick that you gave up so many picks for is you still owe the Bears, I think, a first round this year or second round this year because of Bryce Young, and you're benching him. He was a bust for you. So I think he's going to be a big target for a lot of teams to do for a trade. I would guess my hot take on this is he will be traded by the time the trade deadline comes in.
It's interesting, only to me, just because you will probably be putting together a trade package for next week. That's my guess, is that you'll try to get ahead of that and put some crazy trade package that Daniel can't ignore.
I throw 2 or 3 trades at every single person almost every week. Like not every person, but I throw 2-3 trade packages at people every week. Right. So there's a good possibility I might be trying to get that Deontay Johnson from him if Caleb doesn't take my trade that I offered him. It's a good trade, Caleb. It's a good trade.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard's done great. Jamar Chase has been great, and Brock continues to produce. So I think overall Finkel's had a decent year, but Cam's got him. Mike Evans, man, come on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have anyone else you wanted to talk about on Finkel's team?
No, that's all I had.
Perfect. Okay. So Cam's team. Yes. So first off, let's start. What a great work into Mike Evans. Newly added Mike Evans from my wife, Lex. She got the Josh Jacobs, Mike Evans trade. Comes and shows out on Thursday night and gets him 23.2 points, 2 tutties this weekend. What Mike Evans can do for a team is awesome. The thing that scares me here is he's got to play Trey Tucker this week, but Mike Evans really showed out for that receiving core there. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is I love this pick, and this is a perfect example of Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. He is not a great fantasy pick. Did you know that it has been about 10 to 12 weeks since Patrick Mahomes has been a top 12 quarterback, has been quarterback 12 or better?
I did not know that, but I believe it. I mean, that
Yeah.
Kansas City defense has been carrying them for a while.
He has even gotten he hasn't even, if you could go back further, quarterback one since he hasn't had a quarterback one since 2022.
Wow.
So crazy that Cam is starting Justin Fields this week, and I freaking love it. I think it is a difference maker here. I think if he plays Patrick Mahomes, there is a possibility that he might lose this week. But paying Justin Fields against a Cowboys defense, I'm a Cowboys fan. I know Micah Parsons is out. DeMarcus Lawrence is out. There is potential for Justin Fields to kind of go off this. It could be a shootout on Sunday night in Pittsburgh. So I love that. I think it's going to go great. But yeah. But good without Wilson. I understand, Caleb, but yeah, man, I am asking high, but I'm giving you, Wilson and Thomas Jr., who you want, and I'm taking Antonio Gibson and Drake London. So I think it's pretty even. I think it's pretty squares because Antonio Gibson's not even the starter there. But it's everyone's prerogative. So I thought you've given me enough trades offers that I thought I would at least counter one with you so that we can get, I know by the end of this year, Caleb, we're going to have a trade that's going to make sense for both of us. So we'll just keep countering each other until that one comes through. So, but I have Cam on this one. You have Cam on this one, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Finkel's got to get his shit together. Their stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Mixon not starting and not having a running back on your bench is not good. And, this was a great week for running backs, to be honest with you. You had Tracy Jr. that's probably still out there for the Giants. You have Trey Sermon. That was a starter this week that I picked up this week. You had Cam Akers, who's going to be a starter this week, who Skip picked up this week. There's a lot of great options for an injured Joe Mixon on the waiver wire this week. Gibson is starting this week. Yeah, but he is also starting for the New England Patriots. So yeah, I don't know how much there is to say about that. Okay, so next one we're moving on to is my lineup. Let's go. Me and Skip. It's going to be a close one. Going to be a nail biter here.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and take my team on this one this week. There's a few players I do want to talk about on my team. Deebo Samuels. With Christian McCaffrey out in a full week of practice, I think Deebo is going to be that running back too. I think he's going to get I think he's going to get more touches, still playing that receiver role. Still haven't been pressed with Brandon Ayuk week in and week out. Jawan Jennings almost seems like he's the second guy on this team, the way that the points are kind of shaping out. So I think Deebo Samuels has potential to get back until Christian McCaffrey gets back. I think he has a potential to get really back into what he used to be when he was that, multi-tool player that scored so many times on this San Francisco team. And then Jaden Daniels. My hot take on this is I project that Jaden Daniels will be QB1 by the time this year is over. I think he has so much talent. He is connecting with everyone. The dude, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but the dude is throwing right now at 80. Oh, no, I do know it. 82%. Dude is throwing the ball 82% completion rate right now. It is unreal what he's doing week in, week out. The last 2 weeks, he's 26-30. He's 21-23. He's 23-29. Outside of the first week where he went 17-24, he is just on top of the ball. He is not just a runner, but he's averaging 10 rush attempts per game pretty much. He's getting he's getting the yardage on the ground, but he is so much more than just a running quarterback. I think to me, he is Anthony Richardson 2.0. I think He is what you want to see out of Anthony Richardson. He can throw the ball. He's accurate with throwing the ball, but he still has a lot of running capability. He is a freak athlete. So Jaden Daniels is who I feel is the difference maker for me this week, along with Deebo Samuels playing that Cleveland. I mean, he's averaging, his projection is 3 points more than Josh Allen against a good Cleveland team. So that just shows you what people are projecting for him and how good he has been so far.
Yeah, he was Kirk Herbstreit's call before the year. He was your call before the year. Well done, sir. That was a good call.
Thank you. I just know the Bears know how to jack up that first round pick.
Yep. Man, they are so mad at their general manager right now.
Oh, man. You got to know, like, you got to turn that screen to that Washington game, and you're like, no way. Like, the stuff, it just turns in the bottom of his stomach. It's like, everyone said Caleb Williams. They said Caleb Williams. That was the guy. Who knew?
They also went for Roman Dunze instead of an offensive lineman.
Yeah. And that's
dumb.
Oof.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about Skip's team a little bit. First of all, Josh Allen, he hurts feelings almost every week. He had a down week last week a little bit, but he is going to score some points against this Houston team. He looks like the Josh Allen that I think the league wanted him to be. He hasn't shown up. Everyone wants Josh Allen to not be a middling quarterback, but he tends to just be up and down and throw the picks. But this year he seems to be popping off the page, scoring some more points, and I think he's going to help Skip overachieve. He got Josh Allen third round, a little early, but he's really paid off for Skip. And I expect him to do the same this week. The other thing is he picked up Tucker Kraft out of the pot of free agents this week. Tucker Kraft is going to be, he hasn't done much this year at all, but with Dobbs out, with Watson out for Green Bay, they expect him to be an end zone target. And that's the most you can expect. So, and the Rams.
Does that hurt him though? Kyle Pitts would have been who he started this week. Do you think Tucker Kraft gets more than 15.8 points?
No. But it was no way to know that Atlanta was going to turn around their passing attack. I got lucky with Kirk Cousins. I just didn't want another 5-point effort out of Rodgers. So yeah, I got lucky with Cousins, and he got unlucky with Kyle Pitts. But that's Atlanta's fault. That's not his.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Skip. Again, I already talked about Xavier Worthy. The Jets defense has been getting turnovers. They're fine. His kicker is great. This is going to be a close one for you, Jordan. And I actually took Skip to beat you this week. So
it's not a bad take. I have my number one running back on bye. If you're going to take me on, this is the week to do it with Saquon Barkley on a bye this week. So I had to play Rashid White and Javonte Williams this week. So I might play. We might see a Joshua Downs in here somewhere instead of Garrett Wilson. You might see a Trey Sermon. But I am actually going to trust Garrett Wilson because I think Minnesota is good at that running attack. So you probably won't see Josh Downs, but not a bad interest there. I think if Joe Flacco's throwing the ball, he's got a real shot. I mean, I know this is kind of off topic, but he had 9 targets, 8 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown last week with Joe Flacco in there. So.
Wow. Joe will find you if you're open.
Yes, sir. But Trey Sermon might be the one you see instead of Javonte Williams. We'll have to see. But I think Trey Sermon might be the one that I play. So maybe some changes last minute.
Let's move over to Caleb versus Ben. I've got Caleb. You've got Caleb by a landslide. But I was going to talk about Ben's team briefly because he beat me last week with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has scored more points every week of this season. He gets better and better, and I think he's going to run just fine against Cincinnati. DK Metcalf has been a dog, but Jonathan Taylor's out. He's playing Derek Carr, who's played well. I think, he's got Strange. He's got some problems. Ben's got some problems this week.
Mhm.
And I think Caleb's already had some good fortune. So, this is Najee Harris is not going to do. I mean, he might do something against Dallas, but not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I also have Caleb winning this, and for two reasons. Now, man, I have said it already 3 times. So whoever thought a podcast that you would mention Joe Flacco's name 3 times at this point in the room? But Joe Flacco has got quarterback. I love Michael Pittman Jr. this week. I love it. I think he is going. Joe Flacco's a guy who knows how to find his star receivers. He knows how to find you if you're open. Once again, he's just a great character. Last week, Joe Flacco targets him 9 times, 6 catches for 113 yards. Didn't even get a touchdown, still almost scored 20 points. This is definitely, I agree with Caleb's take earlier. I think this is definitely the week that Michael Pittman Jr. could break the 20 points. I love Michael Pittman Jr. on this team. Antonio Gibson's the other one I wanted to talk about. I think Antonio Gibson is a starter this week from what they're saying. So it is a good pickup there. That's the one that I think that's going to be a good breaker, right? How good are they going to be against this Miami defense, who we both have talked about is a good defense if the offense can stay on the field. But what does the starting role? Mr. Duck going to be facing Mr. Duck out there
on Miami's D.
Yeah. So, but the other question is what does this mean? Him being the starter, right? Does it mean that we're just basically shooing Ramondre Stevenson and just letting him know that he's not, he can't just get away with fumbling all the time and it goes back to normal? Does it mean that they're 50-50 split? It's going to be interesting to see. And I think after this game, you're going to get some real good proof of is this Antonio Gibson's backfield or is it just Ramondre stops fumbling situation? So I think that's where the interesting pickup is, but I do love that he's starting him this week with Tony Pollard on a bye. I think it's a good filler for him. And I got him winning for 100%.
Yeah, Caleb, you got it.
We're voting for you, Caleb.
So our last one is Taylor versus Mahomes. Burn my rice.
Yep. And I think I've been burned by Taylor twice now, 2 weeks straight. I am going with Taylor again. I'm a man who is willing to give shots. I'll talk about Taylor first on this one. First thing I want to talk about, and this is not part of my 2 players that I want to really get into, Sam Darnold over CJ Stroud is astonishing to me. This Jets defense is the reason why the Jets are any good, if they are good. And I think he's going to have a hard time. I've also been saying that since week 1 that I don't think Sam Darnold's all that great, and he has just continued to make me eat those words. So there is a chance he can make me eat my words this week. I just think CJ Stroud puts you in a better position to be able to against a Buffalo defense that could be hard, but they did just get torn up last week from the Ravens. So that's just a quick thing on that. But my 2 players I want to talk about on his is Travis Kelce, number 1. I personally think, although I do like your take on Xavier Worthy and this could be his time to break, I think there's going to be a lot of what they used to do to the Patriots or do to the Chiefs when Tyreek Hill was there. And it's going to be a lot of 2 safety highs and zones. And it's going to put Travis Kelce in the middle of the field open. And I think Travis Kelce could potentially get back on track with who he was previously this coming week and moving forward as Rashee Rice is off of the field. So Travis Kelce, I think, is going to have a big week, and that's one of the reasons I would take Tay this week. The other reason is Terry McLaurin every week is just connecting more and more and more with Jaden Daniels. They are just looking better and better as a tandem. Here, for example, 3 points week 1, 8 points week 2, 22 points week 3, and 18 points last week. That's with 10 targets and 7 catches. he is just slowly getting him and their chemistry is slowly getting better, and I think it's just going to continue to grow. If I project that Jaden Daniels is going to be the QB1 on this team or in this league and this year, I have to say Terry McLaurin is going to be a top 10 receiver, if not a top 5 receiver by the end of this year.
Wow. Okay.
But for those reasons, I'm taking Tay this week and Jordan Mason. But yeah.
Well, I am going to take Mahomes this week. I do think he has a slight edge because of Breece Hall, because of Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed, who tend to be the scorers. But here's what I'm begging Mahomes to do tonight. This is what I need him to hop on the free agency and pick up Joe Cool.
We got 4. We talked about Joe 4 times.
Daniel Jones. What did you say about Daniel Jones?
Bro, right now with Daniel Jones without Malik Neighbors, I could close my eyes and throw a dart on the free agency and probably find a quarterback that is going to do better than Daniel Jones is going to do this week.
I know that Jalen Hurts is on your bench and you had to start somebody, but Daniel Jones, especially this week, is not your guy. You need to hop on. He's available and he's projected, I think, 15 points in our league scoring. So
yeah, it's just, I mean, if you would have said last week, like, hey, I'm gonna maybe play Daniel Jones, I'd have been like, you know what? Not a bad, he's got Malik Neighbors. He could throw some tutties. He could get some big plays. This week, absolutely not. I would not touch Daniel Jones this week with anything. I mean, I wouldn't play Justin Herbert for sure, but I probably would play Joe Flacco. I would even play the Red Rifle. I mean, Randy Dalton's still out there. So.
Well, check this out. This is a question we've got.
I have to drop one between Chase Brown, Braylon Allen, or McConkey. PPR redraft unless I just don't start a defense this week. You have some amazing backups on here. And I personally think you drop Chase Brown, even though he did have the big week last week. I think Zach Moss and him are still splitting pretty heavily. I think Braylon Allen is probably the most valuable backup running back in the league right now because he is still getting so many touches for the New York Jets. And McConkey, as long as you can get the Charger or you get Herbert healthy, McConkey is showing to be the number 1 receiver on that team right now. And
it's crazy.
With Herbert as Herbert as the guy he is, with the arm he has, I would trust McConkey and Allen over trusting Chase Brown, even though Chase Brown probably could get a little bit more targets. But as long as Zach Moss is there, they're going to be splitting. Zach Moss is the bigger guy. I believe we'll get more of the touchdowns in the 5 yards, even though it didn't show last week.
I think it's been a healthy competition between Chase Brown and Zach Moss, but Zach Moss seems to be getting the confidence of the coaching staff. So, yeah, I would say Ladd McConkey, I looked him up today. I can't believe how consistent he's been. Like every week he's showing up. I agree.
Yeah, I take McConkey there. And then it looks like we have another question here.
Yeah.
0.7 PPR. I'm 1-3 and need this week. All right, buddy. Well, let's see what we could do. I'm going to go ahead and just start off with, we have start 4. The first one I'm going to say is Chuba Hubbard. Has to be a start for you, man. He is awesome. He has absolutely been dominating since that offense has been clicking. He has also been clicking with that offense. It is against Chicago, but I do think that Chuba Hubbard is going to have himself still a good week this week. And then the other one, Tyreek Hill, I would not start this week. He's so spread. Joshua Palmer doesn't have a bigger role, but yeah, Ladd seems to be the go-to guy. Absolutely. I agree with you. And, there's Quentin Johnson. Where's he been? There's been a lot of talent on that team, but so Hubbard is one that I would start. I would say sit Tyreek Hill this week, even though he's a big play waiting to happen. New England's a good defense. There's probably a good chance Christian Gonzalez is the one who's going to be shadowing him. He does shadow. So I don't see him having a real big opportunity. ETN, personally, I would say Moore is probably your better choice. Caleb Williams has been showing to throw to DJ Moore a lot. Last week, 11, 15, 11. He hasn't had a week that's below 10. He does give you consecutive or consistency. He's averaging probably around 8 to 9 attempts. Carolina is not a team to mess around with, so that could be a shootout. So I would start Hubbard, Moore. I'd probably start ETN because there's always opportunities for him to get into the end zone over Pickens. And Jerome Ford. Who they're playing? They're playing Washington, huh? I would probably say Ayuk. Personally, I'd probably say Ayuk on this. Even though Ayuk hasn't been there completely this year, he is still a good target on a good offensive team. They paid him a lot of money. At some point, you would think he would have to start showing out a little bit more. So I would say Hubbard, ETN, Moore, and Ayuk would be the 4 that I would say to start.
Not Tyreek Hill?
Not Tyreek Hill. I would not trust him this week. I would not trust him this week. And, just as an example for that, so that you know that it's not just me who's not trusting him. If you look at anything at the fantasy football app, they don't trust him. Caleb, who's in this chat right now, also sat him this week. He is just with Tyler Huntley as your quarterback. He is almost unplayable. You're hoping for a big play. That is all you can hope for. And you hope he gets one. And if he doesn't get that one, then he's probably only going to get you 5-6 points. So I hope that helps.
My guess is Huntley tries to stretch the field with him at least once or twice. He
tried. He tried last week. Didn't work out.
Probably every quarterback's dream is to just throw a long bomb to Tyreek.
Yeah, but he's so quick. I can imagine it's not just something that you're just like, yeah, I'm going to throw this one on a dime to like the second fastest player outside of Xavier Worthy, right? Like it's hard to throw that. And if you're not talented or been with him for a ton of time, I wouldn't. So both DJ Moore and Ayuk over Pickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Hard to trust those Bears, though.
It is hard to trust those Bears, but I don't think I think maybe he's had one touchdown this year and it got called back. So he hasn't gotten a single touchdown this year. He did have a big game last week. I do agree completely. He had 11 targets, 7 catches for 113 yards. But I just, George Pickens he's a Gabe Davis to me, personally. I think George Pickens is the new Gabe Davis as of right now. He could have some real good boom weeks, but I don't project that he will be consistently a great receiver unless he has those boom weeks.
Yeah.
And then Caleb has just mentioned it, kind of backing me up. He's not playing Hill until Tua comes back or unless he has to because of bye weeks. So, yeah. I never thought I'd see the day after last year that I would say do not play Tyreek Hill, but my opinion would be to not play Tyreek Hill this week.
Yeah, so just to finish off the matchups, I just wanted to talk about Achane real quick.
On the Dolphins note,
he is going to have a hard time running against that New England defensive line. That's going to be a hard day for him. But so that I think that's going to decide how Achane does is going to decide that matchup between Taylor and Mahomes. Burned my rice. Yeah, I think that you say it's going to be a snoozer of a game, but I think it's going to decide a couple games in our league.
Yeah, it's going to be a snoozer. It is going to decide. The other thing for Devon Achane there too is like Raheem Mostert doesn't come with an injury designation this week. So okay. How much is he splitting that time with Raheem?
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true. Okay.
But yeah, so we both have we have different picks on that one. That's right.
Yeah, I'm taking Mahomes. You're taking Taylor.
Yeah.
So far, I'm up all time. 5 for 12. You've gone 4 for 12. So my little
Yeah.
comeback last week.
Let's go this week, huh?
Yeah,
I got to
yeah,
count
dude.
on myself, which is
I'm
nice.
so excited, man. Just as a Packers fan, just thinking about tomorrow. Please, Jordan Love, get a full night's rest. I mean, just mentally prepare for tomorrow because we have got to have a big day.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
gonna be fun.
After last week, the Packers have to win tomorrow. Let's get it done.
Man, those Rams did come back and surprise that San Fran team. So they are a little bit gritty team. I mean, any team with Matthew Stafford has an opportunity to win, but man, I love what you guys are building at Green Bay. It hurts me to say because I don't like Green Bay very much.
Big fantasy implications too. Big fantasy implications on both sides of the ball, but mostly on the Green Bay side. A lot of guys making moves based on that injury report.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have all the star people, right? You have Jordan Love who's playing, you have Josh Jacobs who's playing, you have Dontavian Wicks and Jordan Reed and Kraft. I mean, pretty much every single play, any score that happens for Green Bay is pretty much accounted for as far as with that. So
I think it's crazy that Dobbs didn't even travel with the team to Los Angeles. Like, what is going on? That is I haven't heard the details on that yet, but that is crazy.
Me either. Yeah, that's nuts. Not 100% sure, but I have to keep seeing. I mean, not a great time to lose Christian Watson to the IR and Romeo Dobbs. It's a tough time, but I think they can still pull it off this week. So,
well, guys, I think that's pretty much it for us this week. Appreciate the comments and the live stream. Appreciate the comments on TikTok. So keep them coming. We'll answer them the best we can. Here we got another one, right? Oh, this is a good one, Jordan. This is a good question.
It's a great question. I would say with the injuries as of this week, I would play Tucker Kraft even if Njoku doesn't play. I think he has the best potential to score and to get a lot of points, where I think David Njoku does, but I don't trust Deshaun Watson. Even on the week that he was there, he had 4 receptions for 46 yards on the week that he did play. So I would probably tell you to start Tucker Kraft instead of starting David Njoku this week.
That's a tough one. I think that there's a high chance that Tucker Kraft continues to bust. I would say that he's got a lower floor than Njoku. I think Njoku's been a consistent target for Watson as poor as he's played. But Kraft might be an end zone target this week, and Njoku probably won't see the end zone much. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I would say Njoku, or I would say Tucker on my side. But to be honest for you, Jay, I don't know who Jay is, but to be honest with you, it's 6s.
Yeah, that's tough.
At the end of the week, you could play any of those players, and I think they're both. Whoever is going to get into the end zone will be the better one. I think Tucker Kraft has that better opportunity to do so.
At least that's what Skip thinks. That's why he picked him up.
I'm hoping not. No offense, Dave. I just hope it's Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed for you.
Man, I hope we just run the ball all the way down.
Oh, yeah. Just Josh Jacobs,
yeah.
210 yards, 3 tutties, 50
Love or
attempts.
Fields?
Love or Fields. And Njoku finished top 5 last year. Yep. Jordan Love or Justin Fields? Oh.
Fields against Dallas?
Would you hate me if I said Fields?
Yeah, I would, but that's only because he's a former Bear.
Yeah. I would, man. I would say Fields. Man, you are really bringing out. You got some tough decisions that you're making tonight, bro. You are making some tough decisions tonight.
I'm smelling multiple leagues here. That's what
it's gotta be. But if it's the same league, I'm sorry, and we're pretty much like throwing this lineup up. So if You got to do me a favor, though. If you win next week because of some of these decisions, you have to come back and let us know that you won, because I need to know. If you're asking me right now, I would say Justin Fields is the better pick with the better upside. I think Jordan Love's going to give you a better floor. I think he'll be more consistent. But no Micah Parsons, no DeMarcus Lawrence. I can't stress that enough. The pressure is not going to be there for Justin Fields this week. And he is a runner. He has an opportunity to score a touchdown on the ground every week, in and out. He can tear up this offense. Dallas has been torn up plenty of times this year. Derek Carr made us look like children, you know? Derek Carr made us look terrible. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry tore us up, you know? So yeah, I would probably, I mean, even Malik Neighbors looked great, you know, in that game. The Giants had a pretty competent game against us. So I think Justin Fields, it has the better ceiling for you this week. If you're 1-3 and you need a win this week, I would say Justin Fields. If you were 3-1 and you just need a consistency, I would say your better chance is Jordan Love. But for your chances, I'd say Justin Fields this week.
Jordan, I'm going to give you a little credit for your Cowboys, though. Justin Fields' Achilles heel is he holds on to the ball too long, and that's going to give your passing attack time to get there. So
I agree, but we don't have, I mean, our two best sacks or two best rushers are out this game. That's my biggest worry, is that if Micah was in this game, absolutely, I would say let's go ahead and play him. I'd absolutely say play Jordan Love over, but because Micah's not there, I would definitely play Fields.
So how about this one from Jason?
Trey Sermon or Akers? Pierce is out for Texans, but dare take Akers. Split also in Coast said that they will use running back by committee. So I see what you're saying. I have Trey Sermon. Now, I guess the real question for you is that there has been a history with Cam Akers that even though he did get himself some, even though he did show himself as the starter on that team, Ogwin Balwale, I'm going to butcher that name, but he was obviously the guy that was there during the end zone target. He was getting the end zone targets. He was very insufficient. He's been there 3 games now. He's averaging about 3.5 yards a carry. Akers is. He had a chance last week against a bad Jacksonville team. He got 13 carries for 53 yards, only 5.3 points, hasn't break 10 points this year. So I would lean heavily on the team that's playing that crappy Jacksonville team again. Even though it's by committee, do I trust Goodson, who is the second running back on this team, to outsnap Trey Sermon? And Trey Sermon got in the end zone last week. Now, mind you, he didn't have a great game, but yeah, me personally, I would say Sermon is the better choice. I actually had an opportunity to pick up Cam Akers or Trey Sermon this week, and I picked up Trey Sermon.
Yeah, I would say that Cam Akers was traded in a lot of leagues this week, dropped, picked up several times. Cam Akers, you can't rely on him. That's just been proven this year.
Yeah, 100%. I hope that answers your question there, Jason. We'll probably cut off some of this in our Spotify episode, but I'm definitely willing to stay on. If anyone else has any other questions, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions we have during this time.
Yeah. Until next time, JD Fantasy Football. Thanks, guys. Trying to see. So let's talk about our trade that almost went through.
Yeah.
So you wanted to give me Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, Javonte Williams, and Joshua Downs.
But I think it really comes down to whether or not the other person in the trade believes in Garrett Wilson. Wait, here we go. Broncos D versus Bears D this week.
Broncos D's or Bears D's this week? That's a great one. Let's see here.
Broncos are playing Las Vegas.
Ooh, no Davante Adams. Man, yeah, I would take. I'd probably take the Broncos D this week over Vegas. Who are the Bears playing? The Bears are playing somewhere
Carolina.
in Carolina. Yeah, I take the Broncos D. If you're asking me if I trust the Red Rifle, if I trust the Red Rifle, or if I trust
Gardner Minshew
or O'Connell at some point if he gets hurt, or if they decide to make that trade. No Davante Adams. Yeah, I'm taking Broncos D on this for sure. I think Broncos D is the better choice this week. But yeah, that trade potential. So what do you think, man?
I don't know, man. Like, I just don't believe in Garrett Wilson. Here's the scenario I was going to throw at you. So let's say that the Jets pick up Davante Adams. What does that do for Garrett Wilson? Does it free him up so he doesn't face the number one anymore?
Yeah, he doesn't get shadowed.
Or does it take away targets?
I think that takes away targets. I think that's more scary for Allen Lazard.
Okay.
Or Mike Williams, to be honest with you.
I don't
know.
Scared of the mirror, man.
The thing is that Garrett Wilson is a young talent. So they are always going to try to get him the ball because he is what they would probably project. Davante Adams is probably a 1-2 year thing, right?
Okay.
Garrett Wilson is a lot heavier on that. Kyler Murray or Fields in my 12-man. Oh, man, you are really, dude, Jay, you got some tough decisions to make all the time, it looks like, my dude. You have some, I mean, it's a good one to have, but who's Kyler Murray playing this week?
The 49ers.
Which the defense hasn't looked as great as it's been. Oh, man. I don't want to be a Justin Fields guy this week. I really don't want to be a Justin Fields guy as a Cowboys fan.
I'm going to send you a jersey, man.
At this point, you might have to. Man, I don't know. Kyler kind of scares me last week. It seems like Justin Fields is starting to turn it up every week. Every week he's been playing. 21 points 2 weeks ago, 29.98 points the week before, 245 yards passing, 312 yards passing. I'm sure rushing is even better. I can't see his rushing, but I'm sure he's been rushing for touchdowns the whole time. So, yeah, man, I would. I'm going to go ahead and say Fields. Reluctantly say Fields.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Cowboys are going to win that game going away, and that Fields is going to have to throw a lot, and that's not what he's good at. So
he's going to have to scramble a lot too.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So I think he's going to have a lot of points on his feet. I think he is going to have to throw a lot, but I think he will still. I think he'll still have 2 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, which are more valuable than passing touchdowns.
Check this out.
In my 12-man, Jennings, Pickens, and Flowers. Jennings and Flowers would be my choice of those.
We haven't been high on Pickens.
I haven't. He did have a good week last week, but once again, like I said previously when we had that conversation, I think Pickens is a Gabe Davis in the aspect of, I think he's going to have some really good weeks, but I think they're going to be more far between than it's really hard for me to say that, right? Because I'm all about Justin Fields right now. So it's hard for me to say Pickens isn't going to have a good week. But I still think that I would prefer to take Jauan Jennings, even when Deebo Samuel was in there. He still seems to be one of the guys that are one of those guys that are doing really well. So I would take Jennings myself.
Check this out, man.
Let's see here. Traded Dalton and Mike Evans for Stafford and DK, my Superflex. How did I do? Okay. Andy Dalton and Mike Evans for Stafford and DK. Who's your starting quarterback? I guess is the question, because I'd say Dalton and Stafford are kind of like so I guess the real question is, did you win this trade with DK Metcalf and Mike Evans? I don't know. They're like the same player, man. Like they're literally like the same player. DK might give you some bigger plays along the way, but I think Mike Evans gives you more touchdown capability. I think they look for him as a big target in that red zone.
I think you won just on the Stafford Dalton.
Yeah. I think I would rather have Dalton than have Stafford. So
he's got Lamar and Love.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you have Lamar and Love, yeah, you got rid of a good. That's a good quarterback trade for DK Metcalf. I think. I do think that. I don't know. Yeah, I personally think that you probably could have won that trade. DK Metcalf is a bigger, big play type of player. And they throw a ton in Seattle. So I think he's getting a lot of targets. Mike Evans, they're not throwing all the time. Weirdly enough, in that game that was so high scoring, Baker Mayfield still had like 245 less yards than Kirk Cousins in that game.
That's the kind of trade that you would do. I'm just looking at that Dalton and Evans for Stafford and DK. That's got Jordan all over it.
Yeah, it's got me written all over it. It just depends on how much you love that player. I think is the big one.
Yeah.
Tyron Tracy Jr. or Jalen Tolbert for flex.
That's getting deep.
Well, Jalen Tolbert, Brandon Cooks is out on the IR for this week. So Jalen Tolbert should be the number 2 guy on that Dallas defense. But even with Brandon Cooks there, I think Brandon Cooks didn't make a significant jump, where I think Devin Singletary was playing pretty all right. Tyron Tracy does have capabilities of receiving as well. I think I would probably play Tracy this week over Jalen Tolbert. What do you think, Dave?
That's a wash for me. Either guy. I mean, that's so deep. That's just the luck of whatever's going on this week. That's a deep pick. If your winning this week relies on that, I mean, flip a coin. That's tough.
That is a tough one. Cooper Kupp is targeting coming back week 7. Love that.
Yeah, I need Cooper.
Oh, I guess I can do that. Yeah. Or did you do that?
I did that one, but you can absolutely do that too.
Can I? I don't think I can. I think it has to be you. That makes sense. Okay, Tyron Tracy all day. Eric Gray gets minimal snaps, and Tyron Tracy has looked very explosive. See, I'm with you, Jay. I'm with you. Tracy for sure. I'm with you. I think Jalen Tolbert is just. I didn't see enough from Brandon Cooks to give me faith that Jalen Tolbert taking those targets are going to be a significant chance where Tracy is going to. He's looked better, and he has. Devin Singletary has had some success this year in that offense.
Okay. I'm going to be watching 2 jerseys now. I'm going to be watching Tracy, and I'm going to be watching Mr. Duck for Miami. These are the 2 jerseys I'm going to be looking for. Okay. I'm interested, honestly.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. So do we have anybody else? Any other credit my only player for flex? Other players are on buy or out. Yeah.
Okay.
Go Tracy. I'd say go Tracy.
Okay.
All right. Well, dang. Do we have any other questions? Do you want to make a trade right now? We'll just put that. Caleb, you're still here, buddy. You wanna accept that trade? I'm always just itching. I'm kind of like a
Oh, look at this. The Gabe Davis shot.
Gabe Davis comp doesn't make sense to me. Davis strictly ran vertical routes on a team that practically takes over, and Pickens is the alpha wide receiver leaning Zay and Pickens, or do you think Jennings really is? I get what you're saying there, but Pickens is a deep threat, man. Like he is also a deep threat. Like, yes, he is the number one guy there. But outside of last week, when has it paid off for you? You know what I'm saying? Like he had one big week in the all first 4 weeks for me. That's where I'm kind of getting at, where he's got to be a big boom player there. Pickens, do you think Zay and Pickens? This one, man, I don't know. Like Zay Flowers is a tough one for me right now. It's kind of like the Mark Andrews effect right now, right? Like, where has Mark Andrews been? Why is that guy not getting touches? Zay Flowers last week, why did he not get touches? It's
He got
because
a
they're running
touchdown,
the
didn't he?
ball.
Didn't they get him in the end zone?
Not last week.
Okay.
They are just they're running the ball really well, and I think that's really playing into what they want to do as an offense right now. And unfortunately, that is affecting Zay Flowers as Zay Flowers as a player, even though the talent is there. You know what? You got me on this one, buddy. I will go with Pickens on this one over Zay Flowers.
Wow. Gabe Davis.
What do you think starts? Jennings really is preferred target over Ayuk? I just think that it was very obviously shown when Deebo Samuels was out that Jennings was the guy that he was throwing to. Now that might be that because they were focusing Ayuk a little bit more, but I mean, you look at Jennings, even though last week he didn't have a great week, 6 targets, 12 targets, 4 targets, 5 targets, 48, 11, 11. He's a little bit more consistent. And Ayuk, I guess he did have some good targets, 10 during that week, but 5, 5, 5. So it's almost there. He is getting more targets than Brandon Ayuk right now, but you would hope at some point it's got to turn around. But for right now, I do think Jennings over Ayuk. Even with everyone playing, he's still outscoring him. Even with Deebo Samuels in there, he's still outscoring Brandon Ayuk.
All right, man. I think let's wrap it up.
All right. Last chance, Caleb. We make that trade right now. Put live. Make it live. Be the first live trade that was made on this podcast. What do you say?
He said,
you already accept it. He did not accept it. Oh, Trey McBride is expected to play. We got an update, baby. Let's go, Trey. Sorry, I'm pretty excited about that. I really didn't want to play Gesicki this week. So, all right. Well, I don't think Pickens still has more yards. I'm arguing with myself at this point. Still has more yards than the player like Mike Evans, Dante Johnson, St. Brown, Diggs. Pickens just hasn't found the end zone yet, which is another concern. Right. But let's look at fantasy football points on these guys. Mike Evans, higher scorer. Deontay Johnson, higher scorer. St. Brown, higher scorer. Stephon Diggs, higher scorer. Pickens just had to found the zones. Yeah. So he may have had some more yards than some of these guys, but these guys, that's the quarterback they're looking for. So thanks,
appreciate you, Jay.
Sub. Appreciate you, Jay. Appreciate the sub, man. Hey, come on back next Saturday. Check out our TikTok videos. We'll be putting all those on TikTok at JD Fantasy Football, and we do this every Saturday. So Saturday night around somewhere in between 8 and 9, typically 8 p.m. Pacific PST, or as of tonight, we just kind of got a little later start, but Appreciate you, everyone who came on here.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Peace.